This is Colin Dixon with nScreen Media, and I'm in London at the OTT TV World Forum, and I'm speaking to Henrik Eklund, who is CEO of Newstag. Now, nobody has heard about Newstag, Henrik. It's a great idea. I had to talk to you about it. So, why don't you introduce us to Newstag? What are you trying to do with this service?
Yes, please let me. And I know we're a little bit short of time, so I'll do the short introduction. And Newstag, it is new and very unknown. It's been available for over a year, but we never launched it. So it's just out in beta on the internet as a web app, mobile first web app. And what it is, it's a serious crack on actually fixing a model that is not really working, the media model as such. I have a background working with media at the AP and what have you, and I saw it firsthand with this fast-moving, what happened to the media model. And the problem is that a lot of the business models, or all business models in media, are based on scarcity, but you are in an environment of, abundance. And you still try to apply the same business model and combine that with a new consumption behavior.
Right.
So we needed to find a new solution. So for several years, we spent a lot of money building a platform that can handle huge amounts of content, and we specialized on news. So we signed up the largest news portfolio in the world. So we have global partners with CNN, Bloomberg, but also with CNBC Africa and CCTV in China and Russia Today. And they send everything they do to us. We don't touch it as journalists, but we changed the metadata into tags. Then we created a product where we allow users to create their own news TV channel based on tags they find relevant. And we launched that as a beta a year ago or so.
Now, this is a mobile-first service, right?
Yes. So it's made for mobile. All consumption we can see is on mobile, especially in the target groups below 34. And coming from a news environment, in the news industry, you say that the young people are not interested in news. Well, I can prove the opposite, because if you deliver a service that is actually tending to their behavior, you get the consumption. So most of our users are, below 34, and we do hard news. We do, the AP and the Reuters and the AFP and the Bloomberg and CNN, and they're still consumed by this target group. And we find that very interesting, because we do this on the mobile and with a hyper-personalized model where it's actually made for me, which is, I think, part of the, so far, success.
So I establish a feed of the things that I like in my news, and this service picks the best clips based on the smart tags that you've created, the news tags that you've created, and just starts playing them for me.
Yes, so what it actually does, if you want to create a news channel, it could be super wide or it could be really narrow. You could have a soccer channel, or you can have a channel about Trump, if you want.
Yes.
Or you could have one about technology, or a combination of those topics. You have over 5,000 different small tags that we can adapt to your specific needs. What then that does is that it will filter all the content from all our providers coming in, so you will have a constantly updated news feed on relevant topics, or topics that are relevant for you, through your selection of tags. It's like Spotify radio, if you ever tried it.
Right.
It's kind of, you turn on a song and you start a radio signal, and then sort of it keeps on playing, and then sort of along the same lines. And then you can maneuver it, because of you change your mood, or you can do a thumbs and ups and downs.
So this is actually the web take on breakfast TV. Now instead of waiting for the clips that are really interesting to me, they're all just going to be served up to me, so I can have this playing while I'm getting ready for work or whatever, and it just plays the segments that are interesting to me.
Yes, and super relevant for you while you are, and I think that's the part we're targeting, that behavior in the mornings when you're fixing your breakfast, or in the afternoons when you get home. You will get, the updates that you really want playing for you. And but it's also, because of our portfolio, it's also it's not fake news. Every source is in there. Every sort of trace is in there. So if you compare it to, we had the Ebola outbreak, we did some early trials. People are really interested in the Ebola outbreak. If you watch a newscast, you have to wait 1 hour to see the update, and it's very often the same update. On Newstag, you can turn it on, and you will have an updated channel 24/7 from all suppliers talking about the Ebola epidemic.
Ebola, yeah.
If you did the same thing on YouTube, and nothing bad with YouTube, but if you did the same thing on YouTube, the fourth clip would look really professional. It would actually be some weird propaganda, what this is a solution to. And you couldn't really tell what's fake news and not.
Yeah.
Here you can actually find the sources.
Gosh, we do need solutions to that fake news problem. So now you've soft launched this already in Sweden.
In Sweden, well, we let it go, so it spread really quickly.
And when do you think you'll do an official launch?
Well, what we have is a very large sort of back-end solution that handles all these thousands of stories and almost millions of users that have their own unique set. So it's kind of a complex materia. So what we're doing now is that we take part of it and launching that as native apps, depending on what your needs are. Mm-hmm. So that's our launch plan, because if you get hooked into one of the native apps, you can go back and get the full buffet or smorgasbord, or should we call it Swedish word?
Yes.
With services that we can provide.
Now, I have to ask you one question. One of the things I find with Pandora and with Spotify is you tend to get sort of just you down one particular road and then you don't really hear anything else. But there's circumstances with news, it's a little bit different, right? There are times when you need to hear something big yes. that's happened. How do you handle that in Newstag?
Well, you can do it with data, because you can throw in stories that are trending really quickly so we take trending data from Twitter and from Google Trends and what have you, and when something trending really quickly, there's been a murder or an invasion or tsunami or what have you, that could trend, and we could force that into your feed, so you will feel updated. On the site, you can always subscribe to the most trending hashtags. So if there's something happening in Mozambique, you just add that to your feed, and every time there's a new story about Mozambique or Mugabe, something happens, it will be in your feed. Yep. So you can force it. But the problem also with algorithms and the beauty of algorithms is they search equilibrium, which means that you will always search for the minimum. And that's a real problem in our industry. That's why we try to add crowd curation, people, because I'm much more complex than just being interested in technology and business. If you simplify myself a little bit, I can widen that a lot. And maybe you have the same core interests, but some of the stuff that I'm watching or in my pool of tags could be interesting to you, which means that we will, I could start what do you call it, polluting? Not polluting.
Cross-populating.
Populating.
Yes, very
Not
good.
polluting.
Very good. Well, I hope that everybody that's listening to this podcast gets a chance to use the service. I know I certainly will. It could be brightening my morning very soon. So I hope you'll come back and tell us how the service is doing here.
Yeah. Thank you for taking your time.
Thank you. This has been Colin Dixon with nScreenNoise.